Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Snapshot episode 62. I'm Brendan Patrick, joined always by Marvel Snap phenom Cam Best. Cam, crazy OTA this week. How has your week in Snap been?
Oh, I mean, honestly, not that bad. I have found like a safe mid-range deck to play, playing some discard, and I'm doing my little safe mid-range deck thing. And they made a hot location that made my little safe mid-range deck better. And you know, I am enjoying Marvel Snap a decent amount. I mean, obviously, hot locations suck. I am sort of a little bit sad we're never going to get a chance to figure this metagame out before Hope Summers comes out. Because it's like, man, we could have something that's really interesting, and then like this metagame gets injected with a shot of adrenaline when Hope enters, and then another shot when Mockingbird and War Machine enter. And it's like, and that's to say nothing of, you know, Pixie, who I don't think is going to be good, but has the chance of being good, right? Like, she's either going to be really bad or really good. I think it's mostly going to be bad, but what if she is good? Are we doing card?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm making sure. I was making sure.
It's my favorite time. My favorite time. I love doing card power evaluations. It's my favorite fucking episode every month. Yes, we are.
I was out here like, man, I really hope I'm not leading into the wrong subjects.
Nah, we always do them.
Right.
We always do them. It's like my favorite thing to do. Yeah. But I have them at the end here, so I was gonna go.
Okay.
I was gonna go OTA first because I just want to hear more about like how the metagame actually shifted. Because I mean, these were massive changes. I'm gonna read them all out, and then from there, let's just hit it from the top. Anyway, starting off, we had Darkhawk moved from a 4-0 to a 5-4. Holy shit, that's crazy. Forge 1-1 to 2-2. Lockjaw 3-2 to 4-5. What? Adam Warlock 2-0 to 5-4. Ant-Man 1-1 to 1-1, but now gives +4 power instead of +3 power. America Chavez, everybody's favorite card of the past that was nuked into oblivion. I guess it was playable in some decks, maybe. Was a 2-3, is now a 1-2. Oh, 1-2. Swordmaster 3-6 to 3-7, and Vulture 3-3 to 3-3, but it now gives what, +6 power? It's kind of pixelated down.
Yeah,
here.
it gets +6 when you fulfill the triggered requirement for Vulture. Yes.
Yeah. So like, holy crap, this is like this is great. This is so like, okay. So we have like Darkhawk. I mean, Darkhawk, Lockjaw are the big ones.
Yes.
Arguably, Forge is probably big for some other decks as well, but I don't know. I have a lot of questions past it. Like, is America Chavez more playable? Is that can I get more splits on that card? Like, what? Let's just talk about Lockjaw and Darkhawk first.
I actually think you're underselling the Lockjaw change by grouping it with Darkhawk. Yeah,
Okay.
The Darkhawk change is big, but like I think at High Infinite, a lot of what people were seeing was we're cutting Darkhawk from a lot of the Darkhawk decks anyway, because it ended up in a situation where you were losing some of the competitive advantage of being a Zabu deck by being forced to run cards like Black Widow and Rockslide for your Darkhawk to be good, especially after the release of Cull Obsidian. It was like, why am I playing this conditional 410 and when I could be playing the actual 410, right? Like
in a blob meta, and then everybody, like people are either playing blob or teching Enchantress and Shang-Chi. So it's like,
yes.
Yeah, the Darkhawk decks did not feel great as of recent.
So as far as why it got nerfed, I mean, they've been very open on the record saying it was one of the best cards in the game when you look at like all players. And I believe that, right? Like, I believe that this is only the kind of adaptation that happens at like the higher levels of Infinite. I totally buy that, right? So like Darkhawk being this like very easy to pick up and beat people up with kind of card is actually the kind of thing that you're gonna want to deal with in a nerf. I think I'm not opposed to it. I actually think that you could argue Darkhawk got more of a role at High Infinite than it had previously, thanks to the Darkhawk bounce deck that Woody was pioneering. Like, it's like an actual role, an actual deck wants to play this card now, where previously I would say it's just wasn't as good as its competition. Now it's in a new niche, and it still might not be as good as its competition, but at least people are trying stuff, right? And I think what would have trickled down over the next few months to a year if they didn't do anything about Darkhawk was less Darkhawk. So them changing it is fine, especially if it was a problem at lower collection levels and lower MMRs. I think that I am actually pretty happy with it.
Yeah, it's funny because it's kind of a 2 energy nerf. Because I don't know, it's just always in the Zabu shell. We're always getting it discounted and going up to. I mean, we've talked about it so many times this podcast. The difference between 4 and 5, but yeah.
Well, hold on. Difference between 4 and 5, yes, but difference between 3 and 4, like if you're gonna make this card new Darkhawk, right? Mm-hmm. I would prefer you bump it up to 5 rather than bump it down to 4.
Okay, why
if
is
that makes any sense?
Yeah,
because at 5 it can have its own card. Mm-hmm. At 5 it can be something. At 3 it's like you have to change the text on it. You have to give it negative power. Mm-hmm. You have to consider the implications of Silver Surfer. If you are going to nerf Darkhawk, I vastly prefer bump up to 5, give him his own identity. There's not enough 5-drops in the game that are like 10 plus power. This is a good one to add. I think, honestly, he could be like a 5/6. But then he ends up sort of supplanting Ronin. And it's like, well, what's the point of nerfing Darkhawk if you're just going to make him the best card in another slot? So 5/4 is fine with me. I'm just glad they didn't make him a 5/3. I'm just glad they didn't give him the Dino stat line. That would have been hard to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it was pretty surprising, mostly because Darkhawk had not been impacted in the metagame I've been playing against a lot. And then also, yeah, I mean, Darkhawk and Zabu have just been so ubiquitous since those cards have existed. It's kind of weird for it to exist in a shell that is not being discounted by Zabu nowadays. So I'm interested to see how it plays out. I don't immediately see how it fits into any shells that come to my mind, but you mentioned a bounce deck.
Yeah,
that was maybe going
the Woody bounce deck.
Yeah,
it's got like a 55% win rate, top 10% of infinite on untapped. It's like a solid deck. It's a good deck. Like it's good. It's solid. Good into Loki, right? Like just a solid points deck that Loki gets a bunch of bad stuff out of. Mm-hmm. Plenty of decks in that niche right now. Not to say it'll have like a long life expectancy. I don't really know, but like I'm also excited to see what like maybe a Hope Summers can do in that Falcon type shell. You know, like that's the kind of thing you like start Hope Summersing. That 5 cost Darkhawk looks a lot easier to weave into your curve. Like so once that kind of stuff starts happening, it's like I'm really interested in that shell moving forward. We'll get to that later, but I am really interested in it. I think it's a really, really intriguing thing. And Darkhawk being big and delaying your opponent, it makes me feel like I'm playing old Darkhawk again, where like I actually get to feel good about playing those 3/3s instead of feeling like I could be doing something better. I feel good about that, and because I enjoy that. And also, can I yap?
Yeah.
Like I haven't been yapping, but can I yap for like 30 seconds on something?
Yaps for 2 minutes and goes, can I yap?
Shut up.
Yeah, go ahead.
God damn it. Give me. Okay, put a minute on the clock. I'm going to yap for less than a minute. In the patch notes for Darkhawk, there was a sentence at the end that said, let's see how Zabu does with a new best friend in March. And I cannot tell you how many people have been like, who's Zabu's new best friend in March? What are you guys talking? What do you mean there's a new best friend in March? And I want you to know that you guys need to learn how to read, because that is very clearly referencing the fact that Darkhawk is currently Zabu's best friend. Mm-hmm. And by definition, when it loses Darkhawk, it will have a new best friend. That is not a War Machine reference. This is just basic reading comprehension. Zabu, let's see how Zabu does with a new best friend in March. Written February 29th, 2024. What do you think that means? Sorry, this is like I've seen it like 5 different times. And it kills me because it's like, no, it's very obviously saying we don't know what Zabu's new best friend is going to be, but we know he's going to have one because we just nuked his current best friend. Come on, guys.
It's just like a silly thing to write in the first place, in my opinion. Like,
is it?
Well, I mean, it's just like, what?
No, like, that's a serious question. Is it? I don't know.
I don't know. It just kind of doesn't mean anything. It's just kind of silly thing to write. Like, oh, Zabu's new best friend. It's like, what? What are we talking about here? I don't know.
It is a little whimsical, right?
Yeah,
the patch notes can get a little whimsical.
We actually have a question regarding like some stuff that they said and like implications. I mean, people always try to read into everything they say, especially, some of Glenn's responses, etc. Which is, I love it. It's hilarious. But yeah. Anyway, Lockjaw. 3-2 to 4-5. Like it. Let's just talk about our boy first. Is Thanos dead?
Tactical nuke incoming. Yeah. No. This is
love it when they do that.
I didn't think it would be enough, but boy, has it been. Yeah. Like I was like, Thanos will still play this, but I got to tell you, every time I play Lockjaw and Thanos, I'm like, this sucks. I hate this card now. Like it is It is crazy how much worse the card has gotten. I was talking to Lambie about this, and we both were just sitting there like, do we have to cut Lockjaw now? Like, are we actually just like, I'm cutting Lockjaw for like Wave or Black Swan or something? Like, are we just a 3/5 deck now? What if we just try to play a tempo deck? Here's the issue though. Lockjaw and the current builds of Thanos are very specifically great into Loki, right?
Yeah.
And if you go back to Professor X, to Eliath, to Blue Marvel, those are the decks that Loki farms. Those specific builds are the ones that Loki just takes out behind the woodshed and old yellers. This is... I shouldn't...
Okay. No,
I probably could have done better with that. Because like we're talking about... No, but we're talking about Lockjaw. I could have made the old yeller joke earlier, and then now I really messed up the sequencing on that. This is a misorder by me. But the thing about it is Thanos wants to be a non-Lockjaw deck, but Loki also wants Thanos to be a non-Lockjaw deck. Very weird spot for the archetype. And once the Lockjaw nerf came down, it was like, okay, Thanos got nerfed, Hela got nerfed. Everyone's just sort of like playing Loki, whether or not it's good. I actually kind of am not sure that it's good, but there's just like a bunch of people at Top Infinite who are like shrug shoulders, queue up Loki, play the deck, right? Like, and so that puts a lot of pressure on Thanos to remain a Lockjaw deck, even though it kind of sucks.
Yeah. Can Thanos even be a mid-range deck after they nerfed all the stones? Not all the stones, but, you know, they nerfed the stones that they did do. Like, they made them yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just saying that they made him so much worse. Like, can it be a mid-range deck?
Hashtag revert Soulstone. But we're going to find out with Hope Summers and Mockingbird. Because, like, immediately after the nuke of Lockjaw, it's like, all right, well, we're going to just, like, you know, play Hope Summers and Thanos and cheat out some 6-drops anyway, buddy. Like, it's
a glimmer of hope. A glimmer of hope. Yeah.
Oh, that was bad.
Yeah.
What do you
think, though, like, in terms of... We talk about them, like, nerf nuking. I guess it's not that bad because we have Hope Summers to look forward to, but yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. Like, it's like the level of so the level of unplayable the deck becomes is probably not as bad as I give it credit for, because for me, if I'm queuing up a deck and I'm trying to compete, if there's a deck that's 5% worse for no reason, I'm not going to play it. I'm just not going to play that deck most of the time because there's no reason to lose that equity. So This feels like an absolute nuke to me, where it's like, I was really enjoying the deck, and it's like, nah.
Okay, you are overselling it, yes. Like, you are definitely in that situation where it's like, oh no, it's unplayable. And then like 3 weeks from now, Thanos is going to be like, wow, best deck in the game.
Okay, I'm holding my breath.
Relax.
I'm holding my breath. I'm holding my breath.
I do think, I think generally you're right. They nuke a lot, but I also think this is kind of like the bare minimum Lockjaw nerf you can do.
Yeah, and Lockjaw the problem of Lockjaw was more than just Thanos. I know it might have been focused on Thanos right now, but Lockjaw's been a problem for a long, long, long time. So, do you think this solves the Lockjaw problem, like, fundamentally?
It's weird, right? Because your instinct is to say, no, it doesn't solve the Lockjaw problem. It just kicks the can down the road. But it's like, it sort of depends on what you mean by solve, right? Where it's like, you know, Lockjaw can still do that, but now you cannot get it for free.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it solves the Lockjaw problem in the sense of, like, we are now no longer in a situation where Lockjaw just is a free roll in the Thanos deck. And it also solves it in such a way that, like, you could probably talk yourself into running it in other decks, which I guess actually means it kind of did solve the problem. Like, it's like, yeah, Lockjaw still has the text, but it turns out only getting like taking a third of the value out of the card does a lot for it. Like, it makes it less of a freely good cost benefit proposition.
Exactly. That's what I was going to point to, is they basically took away a third of the value of the card because you're dropping it on turn 4 now. Yeah, I mean, we'll see in the future. I mean, it's been a fender for as long as Marvel Snap's been around. So happy to see it finally get a nerf. What about Forge here, 1/1 to 2/2? How did that's definitely a nerf, right?
Yeah, that's a bad one. Yeah, that's a bad one. I will also say I like Mandela affected myself, because I was like, oh, Forge ended up back where he started, but no, he started as a 2/1 with this ability. Like Forge was Forge was a 2-1 give +2. They buffed him to 2-1 give +3, and that's how the journey we went on with Forge went.
You know what? I'll take the Forge 2-2. Just give me back Kitty Pride, and you can nerf the shit out of Forge.
Oh my god. Kitty is like so unplayable now, it's kind of insane.
It's actually kind of sad. That was a fun card.
It's one of my favorite cards in the game. Yeah. And she's just like been gone forever.
Pour one out. I mean, maybe she'll come back eventually. I don't know how they fix it. I mean, the issue with Kitty was, I think it was less like the obvious sign posting bounce shell that she went into, and it was more like when she was fitting into like every single mid-range deck as this like hyper efficient one drop, and they were dropping like Taskmasters plus Kitty on 6 and like all this silly stuff. She's also very powerful in bounce, don't get me wrong.
Right. It was also like Angela, right? I feel like they like Kitty was so predicated on Angela and to a lesser extent Elsa that when they nuked those, it was like, oh, we're giving Kitty Pride 1 point of power back. Like, thanks. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right. The next one I'm going to point out is just Ant-Man, because you've been a zoo truther on this podcast for God knows how long. Like, is your archetype more playable now that this gets +4?
No, this changes nothing.
Yeah.
I actually don't like it. I think I finally was like, yo, Martyr has a role now that she's not strictly worse Ant-Man. And then they were like, haha, dude, now she is strictly worse Ant-Man. Get got.
Any other nerfs you want to, or buffs and nerfs you want to talk about? Is the America Chavez thing worth talking about?
She's way worse than I thought she'd be. Let me put it that way. Like, I was like, oh, what if this is the Forge replacement for bounce? And then like day one, it's like, oh man, she's unplayable. Oh man, that does not work. Okay, back to the drawing board. That does not work. That is not what we want to be doing.
I'm excited for the day that we get to sit by like we're sitting indoors on like a cold day, maybe in a cabin, the fire's crackling, and then we get to tell these new Zoomers about the days when America Chavez went in every single deck, because that day is far gone. I mean, this is, we talk about nuking, like America Chavez was the one that was truly nuked, which is probably not a bad thing. America Chavez was probably one of the most warping cards that ever exists in the game in terms of deck building, because it just made you play close to an 11 card deck and give you a consistent playable 6-turn draw, which is also insane. Which a lot of people liked, it made combo decks it made most decks stronger, but yeah. Anything else you need to talk about, like Adam Warlock, Swordmaster, or Vulture?
I will talk about Adam Warlock, actually. Yeah, I see a lot of people being like, oh my god, you nerfed Adam Warlock. And to that I say, no, they didn't.
No, he went from unplayable to unplayable.
Yeah, he went from unplayable to unplayable. But it's like, that's what they said about the Spider-Man 2099 thing. I think we can say safely at this point that I have seen more Spider-Man 2099 as a 5/9 than I ever did as a 4/6, right? Like, This is a card I have actually seen on ladder. I'm not saying it's like the world's most common thing, but it's like, no, this is actually like a card I have seen people play, and it was not a card I saw people play previously. I think they might know what they're doing. I did ask Glenn Jones, and I got permission to share this. Mm-hmm. It was one of the only cards that ever had a weekly win rate, because they track all the cards' win rates week to week. Mm-hmm. One of the only cards that ever had a weekly win rate lower than Agatha Harkness.
Okay. So
old Adam Warlock.
Okay. Is Agatha the floor? Is that like the lowest? Is that the lowest usually, or what?
I didn't have the chance to ask that.
I would assume so, the way that was phrased, right?
My understanding is she's not always the floor, but there have been few cards below her ever, right? Mm. So, yeah, probably, I guess that would be fair to say. Probably, but I don't want to, I don't want to like describe it as, I don't want to go out there and be like, I don't want to put words in his mouth. Yeah. I can only tell you the stuff I actually know. But yes, you can probably infer from that that is true.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I could see that. Yeah, I mean, Adam Warlock, I think I've seen in a couple of bot decks, maybe in the past like 6 to 8 months. Outside of that, like a Mr. Negative deck here and there, but nah, not really. I mean, what do you think overall? Thumbs up, thumbs down, OTA?
Enormous thumbs up. Mm-hmm. I'm the captain of Team Delete the Dog, and boy, did they do that! I am overjoyed. What happened to Lockjaw? I am. Do you know the meme where it's like sickos? Yes, ha 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 ha. Yes, it's like the guy looking in through the window. That's me looking at Lockjaw, dying.
I mean, I only talked about Thanos. I completely forgot about your favorite deck that also got nerfed, which is Hela.
Yeah, you did.
So where's
What
Hella
was it that
at?
comment said? What was it that comment said? What was it?
There was a comment that said that Cam was going on a world tour shitting on Hella. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. How's that deck game?
I have not seen it.
Okay.
Which I can tell you, thank God. Like, that is exactly what I wanted to hear. I have not seen that deck. That is it's like I was wearing the bracelets that Rock Lee wore in Naruto, and I just took them off, saying I have not seen Hella. It's like a weight lifted off me.
So what's the next linear, non-interactive point slam deck that people start getting pissed off about?
Calling my shot Tribunal?
Tribunal? That's interactive though, right? Because that's different than Hella.
It's interactable with, but I'm calling my shot that people are going to be like, why can this deck put 300 points in every lane? I'm calling my shot.
After turns 4, 5, and 6, all we're just saying like, hey, you're going to lose this game, and they stay in. They don't have the Tribunal.
But like, I mean, the honest answer is, if you're asking what the number one complaint target's going to be, I mean, buddy, you kind of know this one, don't you? It's the other green guy. Pick either of the other green guys.
Okay.
It's gonna be Loki or Leech.
Yeah,
like that's what it's gonna be. Let's get real about this. Those are the cards that are gonna get complained about the most. That's how it works.
Yeah, I wonder if like Agatha was actually on a different level, or it's just a recency bias where we were playing against Agatha and we're like, okay, this sucks, but maybe No, sorry, You know what I'm saying?
I did not know what you're saying.
You threw me off with your Glenn Jones.
It took me until the second one to figure out that you meant Hella. I was like, wait a minute,
what?
Mean,
Agatha's pretty annoying as well. But Hella.
No.
Anyway. All right.
No, I think they wouldn't have nerfed it if it was not in not just Thanos, but also Hella.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think Lockjaw does not get this treatment if it's just Thanos doing this. I think this is in the two best decks in the game.
Yeah.
Let's do something about it.
For sure. I also think Lockjaw's been unfun in a bunch of decks prior to this as well. Specifically High Evolutionary. Yeah. Proxima Midnight, 4/7. When this is discarded, jumps to your lowest power location that isn't full. What's your evaluation?
This card's like actually good.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if she's going to stay that way, because right now what makes her actually good is she lets discard operate in like the silky smooth brood abs kind of space, where you're just like, I'm dodging Shang-Chi forever, but also I'm a good points deck, right? And so it's a lot like Brood Abs, except it goes taller in specific lanes, which is a weakness that Brood Abs has, right? Brood Abs are very good at 20-20-20, but not so good at 30-30, and you actually can do that in discard. Now, it does lack some of the like endgame finishers, but what Proxima Midnight has done is make discard real for the first time in like ever. Like straight up MODOK Apocalypse discard. I'm like plus 125 SP with this deck. Like this is
outside of the hot location.
About 70 of it was on the hot location. So like I was climbing with it before the hot location, and then I played it on the hot location. And it's like, first of all, the hot location didn't do a damn thing for me. Do you know how many times I would discard like a Dakin or a Dracula? And it was just like, oh my God. I think I got like 3 games where the hot location like discarded something of mine. And I was like, okay, I can snap on this. And every time they left on one. it was like so bad, man. It's so crazy how like even in a deck that's built for quote unquote the hot location, that location, Sokovia, still manages to screw you over more often than it doesn't, because you have more cards you don't want that aren't discard targets in the deck, right? Like you only have like Swarm Apoc Proxima as actual targets. So it's like most of the time it's hitting something else anyway.
So, personal question, me to you. I've been pretty busy with some new releases of other sets in different card games. So I didn't play much this week, barely at all. Should I buy Proxima?
What's your financial status?
Well, I got a fuckload of gold. I told you about this. I got mega scammed. Basically, there was like all of the. It's probably been going on for a while. I'm probably ignorant. Whatever. There was like all these bundles that came out, and they were very good value on gold. And it was like, oh my god, you get so much value if you buy these, and then you flip that gold via other bundles that are out for gold into credits. Well, since then, all of the bundles have been cash, so my gold is fucking useless, and I'm very rich in gold. I've got a decent amount of credits too, so I'm not rolling in it, but
What's your
How many
caches and tokens number?
I have 0 spotlight caches.
Damn. Tokens?
Like 10,000.
That's actually interesting. So my instinct is Proxima. Here's my take. Right now, Proxima is definitely a good purchase. The issue is post Hope Summers, will discard be able to maintain its role in the meta, or will something else take that over? Mm-hmm. Right? Because you know what deck can play Hope Summers really well is Silky Smooth with Nightcrawler, Vision, and other cards that move out of there. Like, that's the kind of thing that would want that, right? And that might be just better at doing that than Discard is, being the like, oh, I can't get Shang-Chi deck, right? Now, in addition, there are some powerful cards coming out that you might want to pick up. In your spot, I would say that the call for you would be to wait. Mm-hmm. Because she will come back in your shop at the same price. And if you don't have spotlight caches to double up the value of her, and she's in probably the worst spotlight, I would suggest that the optimal play for you is waiting. Because you will be able to have more information post potential meta shift.
Solid financial advice. I think people are going to really appreciate that, by the way. That was like a great way of summing up, should I buy this card or not? Of course, you know, people get ravenous when it comes to should I buy this card or not. But that was good info. I think you're right, and I think I will wait. You know, we are very close to the next season start, and we do have a banger of a card coming out. Anyway, on to the bend and snap. Man, we got some funny ones this week, not gonna lie. First one comes from an email in 2024. This is from Robin. They say, "Hi, I was a little perturbed by this quote in today's OTA. The quote is, that means we'll pursue change for its own sake occasionally." End quote. Is that a positive? Once they started talking about nerfing Destroy instead of, say, buffing its counters, I started to feel like there's perhaps too much fiddling happening. Was there anything that happened that actually made Hela or Destroy better, or did everything else that was good just get worse? My actual question: what do you think this metagame might look like if everything else were the same, but Kitty and Angela never got nerfed? Did removing these relatively consistent early game scaling threats throw something off balance?
Wow, that's like 3 different questions. Hold on, let me look at that real quick. That is several different questions. So I'm gonna go through them. Change for its own sake, is that a positive? Yes. You saw how antsy people were getting when the only change we got was the Lovers event. Everyone was losing their mind. Like, oh my God, I can't believe they didn't do an OTA. Yes, Marvel Snap players are addicted to things changing. Do not ever let things stay the same. That is actually a positive. Nerfing Destroy instead of buffing its counters. You mean that thing they didn't do? Like, people were like, oh my God, they're going to nerf Destroy. And then it was like a Hulkbuster change, and Destroy is still a very good deck. So I think that shows willingness to be like, hey, we're aware of this, but also we're not like going to lean too far into it, right? Like, we're going to make smart decisions. And they did in that situation. Was there anything that actually happened that made Hela or Destroy better? In Hela's case, it was the rise of Sarah and the rise of Hela. Actually, I think if we're going to be real about this, Patient Zero is the Hela Enjoyer Living Tribunal deck. That deck makes everyone start playing Enchantress and Sarah and like pushes you towards a very interactive type of metagame, or you die to it, right? And then everyone's playing Sarah. How do you beat Sarah? You play Hela, right? And Hela can't exist in the metagame where everyone is playing Living Tribunal. It can't. And it only can exist in the metagame where something else is oppressing the things that beat it, like Living Tribunal, like any combo deck that goes tall, right? And so when like Loki is playing things like when Loki is playing things like Enchantress and Sarah is running around, it's very hard for that deck to exist. Now, because Hela existed, that pushes us back towards being a Thanos meta, because you need to be able to combat Hela on its own terms, go very tall and win some of those flips while also being able to deal with everything else. So like, yeah, I think a ton of stuff changed to make Hela good specifically. And I think that while there is some like degree of being slow on the uptake, it took A, the Black Knight buff, and B, a lot of figuring out to arrive at that good Hela deck. Like that, I think saying that it was always good sort of undersells the work that people like Husky Puppies put into refining the deck. And I think even when you talk to Husky Puppies, when I did the highlight with him, he was like 2 cards off what the eventual best version of the deck ended up being. And it's like, okay, so it's because making decks good takes time if the entire community isn't working on it. And the entire community only starts working on this kind of stuff once people are aware enough that the deck is worth investing in and taking a look at, right? And that's the kind of thing that, like, yeah, that's a thing. Like, one thing I've been thinking about a lot is I wonder if the optimum form of discard, for example, involves playing like Shang-Chi, cutting Swarm, and being a MODOK on 6 deck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm wondering about that kind of stuff. Because if you're MODOKing on 6, you actually get to play like a tech card, right? Like, what about like a Leech? Yeah. What about like a Shang-Chi? And the only person who I know who's been doing that is like Binks, right? And that could be like a legitimately good idea that's worth investigating. But I don't think anyone's really going to do it until someone at a high level proves it's something that's worth doing. And that means that it could have been right this whole time, but we'll never know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of things that are like that in card games.
Yeah, agreed. Next one, some Hamlet.
Hold on. We ignored their actual question. Hold on. What do you think this metagame might look like if everything else were the same, but Kitty and Angela never got nerfed? I think people would hate them at this point. Did removing those relatively consistent early game scaling threats throw something off balance? No. I just think that when you have a card that's like consistently a 2/8 and every other 2-drop is not that, it becomes very clear that you need to do something about that card.
Yes.
As much as it makes me sad. Yes. But yeah, like it's like Angela was just like a free 2/8 in every deck that played her. Yeah, and like a 2/12 in every deck that didn't.
Yeah, like Elsa as well. Like when you have cards that are outliers by that much, it's just like, why would you play any other 2/12? Like, why would I play any other deck that's not including this right now? It's insane value. Anyway, next one's from Hamlet. They say, call the Phoenix Force document the Multiple Manifesto.
Oh, that's so good.
That's good.
Oh my God. I'm going to go tag Jet right now. Hold on. I'm going to go tell him that.
And while he does that, I'm going to tell all of you this week, I'm going to put the doc in the fucking description because there is so many comments asking where the doc is. And I replied to a few of them. If you guys scroll through, you see it, but I'll put it in the description this time. Jet, you're welcome. You're going to be famous. I'll put the doc in the description. I'll try to get a shareable link, but yeah. If for some reason it's not in the description, I'll tell you where to find it. Basically, you go to Lambie's Discord. There's like a deck guide channel. You'll see it. And then pinned there is like Jet's Phoenix Force document. You'll see it there. But I'm going to put it in the description. I'm going to put it there. So many people were like, where's this freaking document? Anyway, next one is from Craig. They say, great episode. My favorite Flesh and Blood podcast. I wanted to pick this one up because you guys don't understand how much I get memed for this. It's incessant. Like in my Lorcana podcast, every single episode, almost like the most upvoted comment is my favorite Flesh and Blood podcast. This one, every single episode. But then when I do my Flesh and Blood podcast, everybody's like, fuck Brendan. He doesn't like Flesh and Blood enough. I swear to God, every single time.
Okay, I'm gonna throw this one out there. I kind of agree with you. Or with both. No, I kind of agree with them. Whenever you talk about Flesh and Blood, it's like you don't make it sound like a game I want to play.
It's because it's like I mean, you understand, like I'm a very entrenched player. Like I've been playing for a long time and I play for a lot of reasons that are more than just like hedonistic fun. And because of that, it makes it hard to enjoy some aspects after you do that for a long time. And that's a personality fault. Like it's something that doesn't need to happen, but it's just, it occurs as I engage with this game. But also, if I came in here and was like, yo, the Flesh and Blood meta is so sick right now, like that would be kind of weird.
Yeah, that would be kind of weird.
Usually
it is true.
Usually we're talking about something else. And I'm like, oh, as a reference point, this thing in Flesh and Blood happened. It's just funny because seriously, on the Snapshot and on Podcana, it's like every week I'm getting memed for Flesh and Blood and like being like this like massive advocate of the game. But then when I do my Flesh and Blood podcast, it's just like,
hold on,
people hate me.
I don't think that saying this is your favorite Flesh and Blood podcast is saying you're an advocate of the game. It's just saying you bring it up.
Yeah, I guess.
Like,
I mean,
no one is saying Brendan is shilling Flesh and Blood to us. That's not what they're saying. They're just saying it's happening. It's discussion of the game.
I just thought the dichotomy was hilarious. How it's because it's just funny. It's just funny to me because it happens on this and the Lorcana podcast every single time.
This is my favorite guy complaining about Flesh and Blood podcast.
Yeah, it's my favorite Magic the Gathering podcast. This is my favorite Flesh and Blood podcast. Yeah.
Does anyone ever on like either of the other ones be like, this is my favorite Marvel Snap podcast?
No, because Marvel Snap doesn't have a lot of like it doesn't have a lot of reference points that you can point to when talking about a physical TCG, other than like sorry, how not to monetize something sometimes. So there's just like not a lot of things to point to. We do talk sometimes, we do talk like Marvel Snap just is the best card game, period. Like you really can't get around that. I challenge anybody who doesn't believe that. Like it is just the like, I don't know. If you look at card games before Marvel Snap and then you look at Marvel Snap, it is like, they found fire. It's incredible how many things they innovated upon and changed for the better. It is such a good freaking game. Anyway,
writing a Dark Souls like Marvel Snap dev /fic where Ben Brode is the furtive pygmy.
Yeah, dude, it's for real. Like it is crazy how good this game is. And I think they could take it a lot farther. But we've talked about this.
This joke is for literally one person. Okay, Gwyn Brode.
Gwyn. Yeah, for the one person who got that reference.
One person gets this joke.
All right, next one is from Kai saying, they say, I wonder how you feel about content patches that don't change the metagame and recently just put cards from garbage to below. This is last week, so yeah. From garbage to below average. Also, I stand with Brendan. I'm the happiest when I can reasonably bust out my Japanese foil Blood Moons, Chalice of the Voids, and Trinisphere. So, Blood Moon is a card Magic the Gathering that turns all of your lands into mountains, which are red sources. So if you're playing a blue deck, well, that sucks. You don't have any mana sources now. Chalice of the Void stops you from playing things that have converted mana cost equal to whatever you paid on Chalice, and it's a double X pay, so it could be you can't cast anything that costs 1 anymore. Maybe you're playing Legacy, and all of your deck is 1 cost things. And then Trinisphere, what is Trinisphere makes things cost extra, right? What is Trinisphere? Do you remember?
I know it costs 3.
Yeah, I know that too. I know that too. I think it makes things cost. It makes things cost extra. I'm pretty sure.
Is it +3 cost?
I can't remember. Like I don't remember exactly.
I mean, its name is Trinisphere. If it's not +3 cost, I'm pretty annoyed. Okay, no, that is not what. Yeah, no. Okay, it is related to that. Okay. As long as Trinisphere is untapped, anything that costs less than 3 costs 3.
Okay, yeah, okay. That makes sense. Anyway, yeah. For some people, card games are zero sum, and they intend to have all of the fun. And yeah, we stand with those people. How do you feel about
We do not stand with those people.
We stand with those people. I speak for both of us. How do you feel about content patches that don't change the metagame?
Shrug.
Yeah.
I mean, I think okay. How do I feel about content patches that don't change the metagame? Well, you can only say the patch didn't change the metagame in hindsight. So like when it actually happens, it's usually still exciting until we figure out that that's not true, right? So that's like usually at least a week. And that week is still net positive for me because I get to have a little bit more fun. I get to experiment a little bit more and maybe actually find something that is actually good. Like, I feel like I'm pretty early to this Proxima discard stuff. Mm-hmm. I think that's good, right? Like, I think I'm pretty early to that, and I wouldn't be if I wasn't messing around, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of one of those questions where it's like, you already kind of know our answer, right? Yeah, it'd be better. I think better rather than worse, usually when it has some impact on the metagame, but if not, I mean, is what it is. And yeah, I think we've thought, like, you said it earlier, as Marvel Snap players, we're addicted to change. We're addicted to a meta influx. And that is the content model of Marvel Snap at this point. Yes, new cards are a part of it as well, but it is the shifting metagame. It is like the metagame does not get dry, and if it does, it's only for like 14 days usually. And that's a huge value prop of the game. Per Platypus. I remember back before Mogwai quit Snap, he made a video talking about the biggest issue in the card game. While everyone was on Leader, Galactus, or something similar, he confidently said, Lockjaw. I can't wait to. I think time has continued to prove him right. Maybe it hasn't been the biggest issue at each point in the game's history, but to me it seems that the fundamentally most problematic design. One thing I'll say, Mogwai may have made that video, but I promise you he was beating the drum on Galactus and Leader as well.
Yes. But also, I was beating the drum on Lockjaw in the goddamn beta. If you're going to talk about anyone getting credit for correctly recognizing that Lockjaw was inherently fucked, it should be me. I was playing Lockjaw in frickin' Mr. Negative way before any one of you were even playing this game. I was complaining about Lockjaw when they did a survey, not a survey, they did an interview with the top 10 finishers on the preliminary leaderboard in the Wave Battle Pass season. The Wave Battle Pass. That's like 6 months before they did their first bundle. I was doing this with sticks. I was complaining about Lockjaw in a cave with a box of scraps. Okay? This was not something that anyone else gets credit for other than me.
Dude, I think this is hilarious because this is so funny to me because Mogwai casts a wide net when it comes to what he doesn't like at the top. I mean, especially
he's always right too.
Yeah, but in this age, dude, in this age, like he was really beating the drum on Leader and Galactus.
Yes,
like I mean,
absolutely.
He hated Leader.
Okay, but like I cannot think of a time that Mogwai has been wrong
Galactus,
about a card that is bullshit.
Galactus.
I cannot think of a time.
Easy to counter. Come on, Nade Shot. That you're describing Marvel Snap, Nade Shot. He's easy to counter. Put the tech cards in your deck and shut the fuck up.
I cannot think of a time that Mogwai has been wrong about whether or not a card is some bullshit. I can think of times where he was wrong about his suggestions to fix it, but I cannot think of a time he misidentified the problem. Let me put it that way.
People want Mogwai to come on the podcast. It's been like pretty consistent. We'll do our best. I could try. We have two guests this month, by the way. I don't think you know about them yet, but you know about one of them.
I did not. Who are we bringing?
Lambie and Glenn. Glenn committed to a March.
Did he commit to you?
Yeah. Okay,
good, because he did not tell me.
Yeah.
I asked him like 2 fucking months ago.
Yeah. All right. They were busy for some time, and he said he was freeing up in March and that he would be happy to come back on and sort of revisit a lot of the points that we talked about as well, because we talked about a lot of macro game design with him, which is super fun. That's like my favorite stuff to talk about, and Glenn is just a wealth of knowledge. So yeah, we're gonna try to fit in Lambie and Glenn. I would like to get Mogwai on. And
I will say, like, I when I did the guess the cards with him, he specifically told me that I basically just got lucky, and he has a tendency to be like, just like not check his messages or something. So I don't really necessarily have my hopes up for this, but I will do my best.
All right, next one is from Michael. They say, I would be interested in seeing what the thought process is against Hela. If I'm being honest, I feel like, and keep in mind, a lot of these comments are made last week. The general concepts they're talking about are going to be more accurate than if like you nitpicked like the details, because the meta has shifted slightly. They say, if I'm being honest, I feel like since I can't play Living Tribunal due to lack of Miss Marvel, I can't play Thanos because I can't afford like half the cards in the deck at this point. I feel like my best move so far has been literally to retreat turn 1 if I see Blade discard something remotely big. If there are times to stay in, that would be beneficial to see what those are, so I don't end up endlessly donating cubes to Helot. Albeit not many per game since I'm leaving extremely early. How do you determine when you might be able to stay in versus when you're forced to retreat against Hela?
Okay, so first things first. Don't retreat till they snap you. Like, don't retreat till the stakes double. Don't do it. Never do it. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, because it's a free roll, right?
Yeah, it's a free roll. You get free time, right? Like for all you know, they'll District X a Modok and discard their whole hand.
Yeah,
and that'll be their Hella too. Like you don't know what's going to happen until they snap you. So first of all, stop leaving on turn 1 unless they're snapping you on turn 1. Second, the major times when you can, this is going to sound so reductive. I can feel how stupid this sounds while I say it. But you stay in against Hella when you have a good shot at winning. You go like, oh, they have an Infinite and a Magneto in there. Here's how I can beat Infinite here, Magneto here. Here's how I can beat Infinite here, Magneto here. Here's how I can beat, and you just run through the permutations, and if they're like decent enough, that's when you stay. Like it really is that simple. Like it's you actually just have to think out like, okay, they have Death Infinite, right? How do I beat that? Okay, well, I can try going plus 12 power on all my lanes so that all my lanes beat a Death and then I lose to Is that a thing you can do? I don't know. Maybe you can't do that. But there are just situations where you have to like figure out what's going on and be like, okay, what are the odds of this going here, right? Yeah. A lot of the time when they discard 3, you're gonna lose to it, right? Like that's fine. But sometimes they'll discard 2 and it'll be like, oh, I actually win, right? Yeah. Like you can, and this is important to do math because like I lost some cubes to Hella by forgetting that 5 plus 12 is actually 17, not 19.
Yeah.
So I made a play as if the 12 going there would kill me, and it instead did not, and lost a bunch of cubes. So like, yeah, there's a lot of math in those games. Like it's just one of those things you have to do. And I wish there was an easier answer, but the answer is pay attention to what they discard. Do the math on figuring out what the permutations are. See if you can reasonably play around any of those permutations and guesstimate what your percentage chances of winning the game if you stay are. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do the math and play the odds. Because a lot of times you'll do the math and you're like, okay, if it flips, split evenly across 3 locations, both, all 3 of these things they discard, then I lose. But if they all go to, if like 2 go to this lane, 1 goes to this lane, I win. Maybe sometimes you just stay in those games if the stakes are at a place where you feel comfortable. That's just
I actually think I over retreat Hella games.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember a time when I stayed for Hella and I didn't win unless I like super misplayed, right? Yeah. Like the one we're talking about here, which means I'm not staying in enough because I should lose some of them. There should be games where it's like, oh, I had like a 66% chance and I lost. Yeah. That happens. There should be more of those.
You know what helps with this? Try being the Hella player for a little bit. Try being the Hella player, and then you're like, okay, I go into this turn 6 and I need, basically 66% of these scenarios and how this flips are bad for me. Theoretically, if my opponent plays correctly. Like sometimes the Hella player is actually in a worse position. They have to play worse odds against you, but they're like, I'm doing my Hella thing on turn 6, so I guess I stay. Yeah, just do the math. Anyway, next one's from Most Skills. They say, Bend and Snap question. I realize this is kind of troll sounding, but I assure you I'm not trying to troll. But as a latecomer to your podcast, what is the meaning or significance behind Bend and Snap?
I'll let you take it.
As a title for listener questions, love the podcast, keep the great work.
You got it.
It's reference to an old political commentary. No, it's Legally Blonde. It's like a 90s movie.
Legally Blonde is a political commentary.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
Legally Blonde is a feminist text, all right?
That's true. It's true. Yeah, well, they drop things on the ground and they pick them up, and when they do that, they bend and then they snap. Watch the movie. You'll see. I mean, it's just like we just came up with it. It was honestly, it might have been the name for the podcast.
No, this is another we thing. I didn't have any input on this. He did this. Cam
was watching Legally Blonde late into the night and was like, dude, I got the listener question section. Bend and snap.
This is like he dropped it on me the same way.
To be fair, we put out a poll like on Twitter. We're like, hey, give us good names to the pod. Like, Whoever gives us a name that we use, you win this crazy prize. I don't remember what the prize was, so maybe it wasn't that crazy. But I'm pretty sure it was pretty good. Like, it was like over $100 EV. And yeah, we gave out prizes to both the person that came up with the snapshot and the person that came up with what was the listener question section, which is the bend and snap. Immediately after that, Henry, bend and snap question. The devs have previously mentioned that the Marvel Snap public hasn't discovered every deck yet. Glenn himself even touted that the 2099 deck, which at this point has received legendary status or meme status, he's been talking about the 2099 deck. To what extent do Do you believe statements like this, or has it ever been true in the past? Are there entire archetypes that have yet to be explored? Are we overlooking a card or combo that takes an existing archetype to new heights? Or is it just the Snap community runs a deck with 10 of the 12 best cards, but actually the 2 other tech cards have a better matchup spread against the meta? And he says, or do you subscribe to the theory that devs are just saying that so people will want to brew more, meaning they'll be willing to buy off meta cards like 2099? Love to hear your guys' takes.
In the epic fantasy book series, The Wheel of Time,
which you just recently finished, by the way.
I did, yes. The Aes Sedai cannot lie. They cannot lie. They've sworn on the oath rod not to lie, which makes it so like if they literally cannot magically, right?
Yes.
And so there's this common saying that like they can't lie, but they are absolutely lying, right? Like they can't lie, but they can absolutely mislead you within the letter of those restrictions, right? And my view on this is that it is that kind of thing. Yeah. Where it's like, they have this data and they can see that like, maybe this 2099 deck is like, a plausible deck, right? But the idea that there's like a deck out there that's just like secretly beating everything else, I think that's how it seems to come across. I think a lot of people read it like that. I'm sure what it actually means is there's a 50% win rate deck that has this card in it. Like there's a 48% win rate deck that has this card in it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
not this deck is out here crushing, but this is marginally playable is sort of how I read that. And for the record, I do think there are whole archetypes that go undiscovered for extended periods of time, things like that. I do think that's happening, but I don't think they're telling us when it is. Why would you,
I also, at this point in the game's life cycle, would seriously doubt that it's the development team that has those decks and not some players. But also, in Flesh and Blood, yeah, they do nice. This. They distribute actual freaking propaganda when it comes to decks and like how playable they are. So like, let's say there's a week of regional tournaments going on, Road to Nationals. Let's say one hero some data comes in early. Not even these tournaments actually ended before the others. Some data comes in early and some hero pulls ahead. They literally immediately go to Twitter and it's like, Bolton is pulling out. He's leading the pack right now. It's just like this absolute, okay, in my opinion, garbage hero that is just like the card disadvantage hero. And it's just total propaganda. Total propaganda.
I think another example would be from Magic, where they publish a curated list of decks that went 5-0 in a league on Magic Online.
Oh, yeah.
But like they don't tell you anything about, like metagame representation, overall win rate, just this deck 5-0'd, right? And so they definitely like use that to give an impression that there are more good decks in a format than there actually are. And that kind of stuff, it's like game companies, again, it's not lying. Those decks all did 5-0, but presenting it in that way is driving people to make misleading conclusions.
Timothy, was Brendan, let's say, was Brendan or Cam a Nexus of Fate enjoyer? Also, current yes, current Tribunal does give some of the Galactus player in me life. You are in a way still the only win one lane. So I picked this comment particularly because I actually played Magic the Gathering for the first time. First time I was introduced and constructed was in Dominaria. And I believe that's when Nexus of Fate was the box topper. Nexus of Fate is a card that allows you to take another turn, and then it gets put back into your deck. So you could play a deck called Turbo Fog, Nexus of Fate, in which you would do this ability, effectively an ability. Multiple cards could have this effect. It's called Fog. Basically, you can't take any damage that turn. So you would just can't take any damage, and then develop persistent threats on board that can allow you to loop Nexus of Fates infinitely. Turbo Fog, Nexus of Fate. In my Rakdos aggro Timmy brain, new Magic player was like, this is hell incarnate. Why would anybody play this deck? You have to be an actual bad person in real life to play this deck. And nowadays, in my seasoned card gamer days, I look back and that's a beautiful deck. It's a beautiful deck.
Yeah, now you're a bad person.
Hey,
you just told this story. The Dune spoilers.
Oh, no,
spoilers for a 50-year-old
no.
book. You just told this. Wait, are you actually?
No, I've read the book. But I'm sure there's some people that, wait, no Dune spoilers. Let's use another.
No, because now anything I do, that actually just me saying Dune spoilers is Dune spoilers.
Wait, so you're telling me in Dune that someone becomes a Nexus of Fate enjoyer? The movie is
actually
ruined.
Actually, yes. In Dune, someone does access the Nexus of Fate. That is actually, you could describe the plot of Dune that way.
Yeah. So, where was
totally
yes,
no sold that. Just totally ignore that. That was a solid connection, man. Come on.
Basically, the abyss has stared back at me, and it's a sweet deck. It's beautiful. I love everything about it, but I didn't get to enjoy it at the time. I was a Timmy back then. I liked, I was playing some of that mono green deck. I was playing some of the black red aggro Timmy stuff. I think that what was your signature deck in Magic the Gathering, Cam?
Mono red.
Yeah, no, that checks out. That checks out right there. That checks out. All right, Samantha. I agree that snapping to increase the stakes is for sure directly increases tilt value. 2 cubes, meh, annoyed. 4 cubes, I'm pissed off. 8 cubes, turning the game off and staring into the corner for an hour.
Sure. Yes.
What's it like for you losing like big 8 cubers on stream?
Oh man, it sucks so bad because it's like I try to play marginal, right? Like I try to, move through a stream going generally positive, right? So losing a big 8 cuber, and I also know that I can't let myself make mistakes like actually playing badly. Yeah, I can't let myself make those mistakes. I have to really lean into it and do the correct thing, and that means that there is, I've said all I need to say. It sucks. It's super bad. It feels like I wasted my entire climb. But that's something that I need to get over, right?
Who gets tilted? Not crazy tilted, but I would have thought this player didn't get tilted at all. Cold as ice, stone cold killer. Moyen. Moyen recently got second place in this big Locana yesterday. Moyen is probably one of the best color gamers to ever exist, and I just rejoiced. My inner player rejoiced when I saw him get super unlucky and hit a little baby death pound. I was like, "There we go, Moy. There we go, there we go." Everybody gets it. In Marvel Snap, it's I don't know. It's something with this idea that you get on for a session, you have this goal to get, and then you drop behind, and then you want to break even, and then it's oh shit, that's slippery slope. I mean, you're a tilter in Snap, right? Tell us about why you tilt. If I have to bare my soul. So for me, it depends where I'm at with the game in terms of what I'm trying to achieve and stuff like that. So in my most competitive, I never get tilted in tournaments or anything because I don't know, I just don't get into that zone. But sometimes when I'm on ladder and I do lose, I feel what really pisses me off more than anything is when my opponent makes objectively incorrect plays and still beats me. I hate that. It makes me it makes me very angry at the game because a game facilitated a person who was making incorrect plays, objectively incorrect. And Marvel Snap has a lot of subjectively correct things, so Marvel Snap it happens less more than other games. But when it happens, objectively incorrect plays and still wins the game. It annoys me when a game rewards that kind of play style.
I gotta be honest with you. I don't get mad at that at all.
Yeah, that's what annoys me.
I get mad at the fact of me losing. Right? Someone entitled to the win, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't. That's my favorite. I don't get mad. It's oh, this guy sucks. Fuck him, right? I get mad if you do that and you emote, sure, but that's you as a person, right? That's you doing something, right? I don't get mad. It's you play bad and win. It's shit. I probably do that too. Shit. Yeah. I don't even probably didn't even notice. I'll be about it some of the time, but I'm not going to be tilted about that.
Yeah, I think it just makes me feel like the game isn't worth my time when that happens, and that it kind of feels like it's like a waste of time, right? It's like fuck, why am I doing this? Like, why am I putting my emotion into this? Why am I putting my energy into this? When it's just like, what effectively happens at this point is like, I would distill it in, if I was going to put it into scientific terms, it's bullshit, you know, like some bullshit happens. And then I'm like, ugh. But, yeah, this is the best reframe. If you have any friends that get particularly salty, especially in places where it's completely inappropriate, like at a physical event or anything like that.
Yeah.
Mention to them the concept of being entitled to the win and ask them if they feel entitled to win, and then watch them just seethe in their own skin when they realize that is what they're doing. It's tough, because I've had to encounter a few of those people where it's just like, what the fuck you did? Like, you cannot you cannot be throwing a fit in a game store. I was like, what are you doing? Anyway.
Yeah, I will say in person, I am absolutely never doing this stuff. But in the privacy of my own home, I deserve the right to be mad that I lost. I reserve the right to be an entitled prick in the privacy of my own home. Thank you very much.
I am entitled to the win of this random game.
I deserve this.
There's this meme of like, there's these two ducks that are throwing dice. Maybe it's one duck. And they're throwing dice, and he just goes, favorable outcome, please. And that's just like all card gaming. It's just like...
God damn it. That is exactly. It's like, yes. No, but it's not favorable outcome, please. It's favorable outcome now. Like, it's definitely not please.
And I side with Samantha here. For me, it's like, once I win, I feel nothing. I lose, the voices come back. Like, it sucks. Daniel, this one's from Damon. They say, why doesn't a card/deck feeling terrible to lose against get taken more seriously as a reason to nerf, excluding tier 0 metas? I think cards being unfun is a way better reason to nerf than a card being strong. I've always hated dying to Rockbiter Doomhammer on turn 5 and Hearthstone. I don't know. I mean, I couldn't name those cards.
Oh, okay. No, it's I know what it is. I get it. I had to process it.
I hate Floodgates and Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay, that one is way out for me. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
I don't know that one.
And I really hate anytime I see Leech in my Snap games. The Galactic nerf was just... Okay, just that was where it ended.
He mentioned Leech and had an aneurysm. It's just like, it's time to go.
The Galactic nerf was just...
Okay. No, because the reason they can't do this is because the number one determinant of whether or not people think a card is good or fun is if it actually beats them. Like in Magic the Gathering, they have this thing on Arena where like you press a smiley face if you enjoyed the match or a frowny face if you didn't.
Dude, I saw
and it just correlates so heavily with did you win? Right? Like card gamers are so bad at actually telling when something is either broken or unfun, because what they're actually mad at most of the time, like the majority of the time someone says something like this, they're pissed they lost to this shit.
Favorable outcome, please. So I was watching a stream.
I want that to be a new segment.
Dude, I
want to have a segment called Favorable Outcome, please.
I can't tell you how many group chats that thing gets circulated in because it's just like, card gamers are so, and I'm including myself and Cam in this, like, we're just kind of so dumb sometimes. Like, you know, like we play a game. The reason we play this game is because of the variance. Literally, like, when we feel entitled to the win and we hate it when, like, you know, someone else wins the game and like they didn't deserve to in our minds and stuff. And we're like, this variance is bullshit. But then at the same time, like, we're playing the game because it has these random, like, there's these random elements and like we feel like we can win games maybe when we're not supposed to. And it's like, it's literally what draws us to the game. But I don't know, card gamers, like, they just like, they're so contradictory and hypocritical sometimes when it comes to this. Anyway, in regards to
send me that meme, please. I have
I'll try to
chat.
find it.
I want to put it in. Thank you.
In terms of this, like, why? Yeah, I think that it's also one man's trash is another man's treasure. Yeah, like those decks that you think that you hate and that everybody that's in your circle on Twitter hates. There's some gremlins out there. Me and my Galactus lovers, you know, we're in the shadows. We love that deck. We love leeching you on turn 5. Like, it's a funny concept. I think it's a concept that some people have to like mature is like a kind of a weird word for it, but it does happen. Like, once you play card games for a while, you kind of mature into the idea that mid-range versus mid-range and agency versus agency is not like
Yes.
the peak of card
yes,
games.
as you mature, you'll understand that losing to Leech is actually fucking awesome.
What I was trying to say, you'll mature to see that there's people that like varying ends of the spectrum, basically. Not that you're going to mature to, well, maybe you will put your pinky up one day and you'll join us. You'll become
a leecher.
Your problem is you're just not smart enough.
Kiddo.
No,
Idiot. No. Well, you just play decks that don't get leeched, dummy. No.
It's so easy to counter.
Just play the tech card. Just have power, bro. Come on. No, I think that there are cards that elicit outsized responses emotionally from players, but if we're gonna get like super real about it, like super real, I don't think if you're a dev, you think that's a bad thing because it means they care. Like I straight up think that like there is some benefit to the game for having these big swings emotionally. Like, and I know that sounds like a horrifying capitalist stripped down sentiment, and it sort of is. But if everything is the same and nothing is making you feel bad when you lose to it, well, someone else on the other end of it is feeling really good when they beat your ass with it. Right. And those high swings, those high peaks and valleys are important for your emotional experience of the game.
Yeah.
And so on one level, I am horrified by thinking of this, right? Like, it's like, that is, oh my God, you're monetizing my tilt. I hate you. And on the other level, it's like, that's probably just inherent to games, right? Like if Elden Ring wasn't hard, you wouldn't feel a sense of accomplishment beating it.
For sure. That talks to a bigger concept where they like designed all of the difficulty and like out of video games, and they just became so boring and just, I don't know, myopic at some point. And it's just like people like there's this concept. I mean, gamers, it comes back to the entitlement. Gamers come into a game feeling entitled to the win, feeling entitled to completing the game, feeling entitled to beating everything. But when they're given that at a rate that they feel like is too easy, most gamers feel like it's not rewarding. So there's this balance, because like it's too hard, people will just quit and they'll be angry at your game. But it's not hard enough. It's like you're only appealing to this small audience that likes that kind of entertainment, which I don't know.
I just think I want to draw a distinction between difficulty and like emotional resonance, though, because Leech is a very emotionally resonant card, and it's like emotionally resonant in a negative way, but it is different enough from other cards that you have very strong feelings about it.
Yeah.
And whether or not you like it, I think one thing that this current era of, the internet generally demonstrates is that you having very strong feelings about something is good for that thing, even if those feelings are negative, right? Yeah. And there is a degree to which it's like, yes, we should try, if a card is egregiously fucking terrible, you should try to get it out of the game, right? And they did that. They nerfed Leech, right? Like they did that, and now it is like actually kind of like a reasonable and fine card. They nerfed Goliath a bunch. Like they do focus on this. They nerfed Galactus a bunch. Like this is not saying that like, they should always let these issues exist. Just don't treat them that differently from anything else.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, there are just different players just enjoy different things. And like for me, like I'm on the far end of the spectrum. Like I put notifications on Mogwai's tweets, so when he complains about a card, I know to start building with it. I got my noties on. Anyway, talking about the Magic the Gathering smiley face or unsmiley face, I was watching a video. They came out with a new format called Timeless, which is like all the cards in Magic on Arena, and it has like a bunch of old ones on there. And it was the first time I saw the smiley face, not smiley face thing. And it was in a game where someone was playing against a deck. They were playing a combo deck, and the opposing player went turn 1 Thoughtseize, rip your combo piece out. Turn 2, Tainted Pack, exile my entire deck, Thassa's Oracle, win the game. And it goes, did you have fun?
I had so much fun, baby.
I just thought it was freaking hilarious. I actually laughed out loud. Anyway, next one's from Comics Fan. They say the main thing that really frustrates me about Marvel Snap and makes me not want to play is the fact that they have no rank protection below Infinite. You can reach the 90s and drop straight back out again and spend days and weeks trying to get back into the 90s. Other card games like Magic and Hearthstone have rank protection. There's no good reason why Snap can't have it too.
Does it need to be hard rank protection?
Yeah.
Like, I think that one thing people don't get about Snap is that it's actually way easier to hit the money rank that is, infinite in Snap than it is in any other card game. Like dramatically easier.
I think Hearthstone's pretty easy now too. They have like a bunch of bots, right?
I thought the bots are unintentional in Hearthstone. Like they're literally people farming.
I mean, they could be.
That was my impression of the issue.
Yeah, I mean, they could be. I just know there's bots, but yeah, I think Hearthstone's pretty easy now to be. You're right. Like they do kind of feed it to you. I mean, I don't want to make this person feel bad. Like like we're saying, like it's easy and you should be able to do it. But should they have rank protection? Should they not? I think that like
if they did, they'd have to make it harder, right?
Yeah. Well, my answer is not going to be one this person will particularly enjoy, and that's I think that like there's a lot of cognitive dissonance that gamers encounter when they feel they identify or like feel that they deserve a rank, like they are a gold player or a platinum player, and then the ELO system, like the ranking system, puts them in a different spot. They feel dissonance, which doesn't really make any sense because that the whole point of that rank system, to an extent, right? Marvel Snap has asymmetric climbs to infinite. It's like very unfair, but like the whole point of that system is just to like put you in your place. But you're like, no, I am a gold player. I am a platinum player. And I think that concept is just like crazy,
It's hard.
I do the same thing. Yes. I do it. But I think you need to recognize that if like a game is, and I feel the same frustrations, but if a game is putting you below 90 and you're like, I am a 90s player, I'm an infinite player, at one point you used to be like, maybe you're not. Like maybe I'm not. Maybe right now like, I'm an 83 player. Maybe I am. Maybe I got to get better.
Yeah, like what is it that everyone else is doing where they're not running into this issue, right? Yeah. Like what is the difference between you and everyone who's hitting infinite? They didn't have rank protection either. So what is the actual difference, right? And then you figure out what that difference is. It could be maybe you over focus on those ranks and you're like, oh God, I'm going to lose it again. You
changes your snapping, the way you play.
There can be plenty of reasons for this, but fundamentally, everyone else has the same task as you, and they're succeeding at it. So why is that?
Yeah. In regards to should they have it, should they not? I think it's a point of frustration. Like I can totally empathize how it'd be aggravating to drop like that. Yeah. But again, I think it goes back to like it's the emotion that's evoking is not necessarily negative, and maybe
it
just
makes you want to play more, right? It makes you want to play more, spend more money. Like it's one of those things.
Surely I can't be sitting at rank 86 right now because I was 90 early today, and I am a 90s player. God damn it, I am, and I will get back there. Ultimately, I think they don't need it.
Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at with it. I don't think rank protection would do anything other than like make an already relative to other card games easy to achieve prestige rank easier to achieve.
Mm-hmm. Next is Robert. They say, are we just OTA addicts at this point? If for some crazy reason...
Question's over. Answer's yes.
What, 3 months? Okay, if for some crazy reason there could be no OTA for 3 months, would the game die out?
Yes.
If yes, is this good or concerning? And what should be done about it? Chase the dragon, baby. Update faster.
Why does it have to be? Why does it have to be good or concerning? Why can't it be both?
Good and
it's concerning. Yes, it is concerning because it's like, damn, what does this say about our ADD asses? And this game's, you're like, what happens if they need to take like a break for something? I don't know how many people they have. What happens if Glenn gets sick? Right? Like, is that a real issue we have to deal with? I don't know.
What is like that? What? Yeah. What is that thing called with like? They had a whole show about it. It's like with the presidents, like the succession line. Maybe it's just called succession.
Yeah. Designated survivor.
There we go.
You're talking about designated survivor. Don't you fucking put Succession in that? And like that is Succession is one of the best shows ever made. Designated Survivor is some network TV trash. Succession is one of the 5 best shows ever made. Don't you fucking put them in the same sentence.
We need a designated survivor for Glenn, like a lead developer, lead game designer, because the OTAs they got to keep. Well, to be honest, I think that in other games we've just accepted it as the norm. We've accepted it that the meta gets stale, that it's boring, that like we need bans and like all this. Marvel Snap, in my opinion, kind of fixed that problem. And yes, modern day ADD brain that's like consuming massive amounts of TikTok shorts and all this other bullshit. Yeah, it's probably, our tolerance is probably going to be lower, but I do think that Marvel Snap's way of iterating with OTAs, balance patches, new cards, I think that that's how card games should be. Period. Like, I think that they have the optimal system. I know that they're feeding into this, like, this behavior that's maybe, I mean, you could argue, like, is it bad or is it good? But I think that this is the way to do it. I do. I would love if other card games did this.
It's concerning, but it's also awesome. So I'm concerned in the event of like what happens if it stops, right? But it's also just like super sick and I love it. So never stop.
It's not gonna stop. That's what's up. Anyway, main top. That was a Ben. Snap. If you want to get your question read out next week's podcast, you could.
I like how you're like main topic an hour into the podcast.
Yep, people like the meme for that one as well.
It's an hour and 15 minutes into the podcast. It's like, let's talk about the main topic.
Strap in. Anyway, if you want to get your question right out next week's podcast, you can shoot us a comment on YouTube. We'll get it queued up. Main topic. It's a short one. Okay, relax. Power evaluations. You ready?
You realize that your mom joke you just set me up for, right?
Dude, you were cracking those before the podcast. What's going on? You're a menace to society.
There.
You relax.
It's right there. Continue.
Hope Summers.
Okay. I won't do any more.
Hope Summers 3/4. After you play a card here, you get +1 energy next turn. You mentioned a little bit in the pod, but pitch me this card. Sell me the dream.
Okay. So do you know how Corvus Glaive is a 3/5 with a big downside that gives you an extra energy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hope Summers is a 3/4 with no downside that gives you like 3 extra energy. You realize, like, one of the things I think people miss about this card is you can play multiple cards on her. Like, you can get extra energy if you want with a Hope Summers. And I think like the basic thought process with this card is you go like Hope Summers, Jeff Nightcrawler, Dr. Doom, the Hope Summers lane, or Vision, the Hope Summers lane. You're just like playing a bunch of crap for free. Like just unbelievable amounts of garbage or being vomited out of your hand basically for free. And that is the basic promise of this card. But then Hope Summers, what about Falcon? What about Beast? What about not just the cards that move, but like what about Thanos? Thanos wants that card? Like there's just like a whole bunch of like, wow, that is unlocking a bunch of different stuff for me. And you know, there are decks that don't want it, right? Like Discard does not give a shit about extra energy. Discard does not care at all. Whereas like Destroy cares deeply about getting to that 7th energy. Not that you're going to run Hope, but I'm just giving it as an example of like, this is a deck where energy matters and this is a deck where energy doesn't. Not every deck has a energy matters kind of game plan, but a lot of them do. And in those decks, like just the basic idea of like Hope Summers into card into Doctor Doom, it's like, oh, that's quite good, right? Like that is just quite good. And then you get a little bit fancier, right? What does she let you do on turn 7 that's similar to like that null Deadpool thing? Well, you can War Machine into Infinite and Ebony Maw. Like, there's just a bunch of stuff that this card seems to let you do. And it's like, I know it was data mined originally as giving you +2 energy, which obviously is like the most broken card of all time. Yeah, so this is like the multi-nerfed Hope Summers, for the record. Like they originally had this card give you 2 energy when you played a card there. Same exact text, just the one was a 2. Like no restrictions, nothing, just here's 2 energy. Ridiculous. What were they doing? Now they have it as a much more balanced card. My worry with Hope is she ends up too middling, but I frankly think there's gonna be some way to make her very stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like she's just like a mid-range engine, right? She's Zabu. That's who she is.
Seems very, very powerful. Very powerful. I'm keen to see it. I love it. I love a good season pass.
You got
card.
nothing? You got nothing to
Dude,
say?
What else am I gonna say? That the card is clearly powerful in the ways that you mentioned. I mean, other than stating like a specific deck list I would run it in that you didn't mention, which I don't have. Like the card is powerful because of like. Anyway, you're going to be cheating multiple resources, getting multiple resources, and you can do that at minimal downside with those cards that moved or bouncing cards back to your hand. Like, I feel like it's just tried and true. just Marvel strategy at this point. Like, I think that this card is not going to be very convoluted for a lot of players and how to get value out of it at this point, at this stage of the game. My question is like, what is like on turn 5 and on turn 6, like how many additional cards are we getting out? Obviously we're getting out, things like Vision or maybe like multiple 6 drops, but how many things on top of that as well?
No idea.
Yeah.
But like that is like the thing
That's
is
good enough.
Those cards you're getting out on top of it are also cards you're going to be able to play into her. So they get you value by playing into her, and then on the back end, because you have like 2 extra energy, right? Like honestly, I kind of wonder if you're going to run into the issue of like running out of cards. Like, what happens if you just like run out of stuff to play? You like got too much energy, Like I think also just cheese a 3/4, right? And it's like, okay, I'm sacrificing exactly nothing for this. I am playing like when you compare it to other 3/4s, it's like, Agent Coulson, right? And it's like, well, she's probably better than that.
This this card is interesting to me because I look at this card and then what I would think is, okay, in the sell me this pen fashion, I would say sell me Corvus Glaive or sell me Electro over this.
I can sell you Corvus Glaive because discarding 2 cards lets you play Hela.
Yeah, so you get the additional, right? There's some synergies, but like this card just seems much more powerful, right? Nods. Yes. All right. Next one, Pixie. Anyway, I think it's going to be a banger season pass card. I'm excited for it. Next one is Pixie 2/1 on reveal. Shuffle the cost of all cards in your deck that started there. What?
I don't get this card very much.
Shuffle the cost of all cards in your deck that started there.
Wait, what do you mean? What does that mean?
What is that? Why? For some reason, that sentence is not making sense.
All the cards in your deck, they mix up their costs. They like get put in a hat and they get new costs. Okay. So like
but just like randomly shuffle, like what?
Yeah, randomly.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that seems. I guess it makes sense in like having this sort of like, I guess, higher variance deck that can have these high ceilings and these big spike turns, but it just seems terrible.
You know what the worst text on this is?
What?
Is that started there? Because that is explicitly saying, do not Thanos this. You cannot do it.
Yeah.
And that means that this card was just absolutely heinous. This card was like
if you have multiple 6 drops, right? The odds are really, really good for you in that situation. Yeah.
But like other decks that would want this, I really don't know. Like it's like this card was just like absolutely there because the original version of it was a 1/3 that did not have that text. It was just 1/3 shuffle the cost of the cards in your deck, right? And so it's like, okay, that seems like an issue. And I'm guessing they realized it was an issue. They were like, oh yeah, we can't let this shit release, man. Cause like the last 2 months have just been Thanos big guy decks.
Yeah.
And they're like, here, have a Pixie.
That makes sense though. That makes sense. Cause if you hadn't, you could still argue that maybe you can run it in like maybe like ramp or I don't know. But if you have
where it goes.
If you have a lot of 6 drop in your deck, like 6 drops in your deck, the odds are really good for you when you're shuffling the cost of 6 drops. If it's shuffling between 1 and 6, I'm assuming.
So things to think about with this: Jane Foster, Yellow Jacket, and Wasp. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You just get some dudes for free, right? Jane Foster, Yellow Jacket, Wasp after playing Pixie. That's one thing to think about. Mobius makes it so there's no downside other than playing a 2/1 and a 3/3. So who knows there? But this is a weird card that is going to take a long time, I think, before someone is like actually broken. But it's also like, of all the cards in here, I'm so sure this one's going to do numbers on Twitter. Look at how broken this Pixie is, dude.
It's good content. I mean, this is a good content card. Maybe, right? Like, I don't know, the Mobius interaction, I guess, is kind of interesting, where your cost can't be increased. Like, I kind of like that. But if you go, what are you doing? Like turn 2 Mobius, turn 3 Pixie? Like, he's taking like 2 turns off for this? I don't know. That seems kind of bad. Anyway.
Yeah, it does seem kind of bad.
Yeah. Anyway, Mockingbird 5/9 costs 1 less for each card you have in play that didn't start in your deck. I mean,
Wait, hold on. Pixie idea,
okay.
right? Okay. Turn 1, you play turn 2 Pixie, turn 3 Mobius, whatever.
Okay.
Turn 4, you Lockjaw, throw away your 0-cost card. Then Jane out a big 0-cost card. Like you're playing like high Evo Lockjaw. With like Wasp and Yellow Jacket, and you are just like cheating it with Pixie as well, right? So like you're using the Jane to do that in addition to using Lockjaw to throw them back in the deck to guarantee the value from the Jane. So if you drew them before you played the Pixie, you can throw them back in. What about that?
What I sorry, I'm gonna tangent, but it's cool. I like it. What I like about Pixie is that I feel like you can do reductive reasoning on the nerfs to figure out like its use cases for being powerful. So like 1-drop Pixie into 2-drop Mobius is significantly better tempo than 2-drop Pixie into 3-drop Mobius. And of course, now it has the anti-Thanos text that was broken in a deck that had these free 1-drops that you could play in and maybe draw cards with, and then you could reduce multiple 6-drops in your deck, etc. So from there, we know it's powerful with Mobius. We need to be doing that in a way that doesn't lose us tempo. We know it's powerful with very high cost cards in our deck. So what deck satisfies those two boxes?
Go on.
I don't know. Ramp?
Oh, I thought you were going somewhere.
No. It's just like that comment earlier from the Bend and Snap where I just end it abruptly. That's all I got. I just think it's funny.
Can I have to do something to fix my hair. It's killing me.
I just love how your headphones keep dropping in front of your eyes. They're
not dropping. I'm doing it because like there's this inexplicably large amount of hairs that are just like here and not in my hair bun for some reason, and I don't know what the hell is going on.
It's been incessant like the whole time. Yeah. It's just like I thought you were just trying to look cool with your headphones.
No, I'm not trying to look cool at all. I'm trying to get this like there's like hair fuzz up here for reasons I don't understand.
All right, well, while you do that, Mockingbird 5/9 costs 1 less for each card you have in play that didn't start in your deck.
Local Thanos deck gets Tool.
Yeah, local Thanos deck does get Tool, but does local Thanos deck, like, is it powerful enough with Mockingbird?
The funny thing about Mockingbird is it pushes you more towards being like a Profex Eliath Thanos deck, which means it pushes you even more towards getting absolutely fucking demolished by Loki.
Yeah, but
so it's like yeah, this is a good for those Thanos deck, but also like Thanos is gonna get like
Thanos is gonna play that deck, and then Loki's gonna play the Mockingbird, and you're just gonna be like, Jesus fucking Christ, why did I put this card in my deck?
It does feel like that was the direction. Like, of course, it's not a very original thought, but as soon as I saw Lockdown, I was like, okay, we back to Lockdown here. But it is just like Loki hard gatekeeping that deck. So I don't know. How bullish are you on Mockingbird overall, and maybe not a Thanos shell, or even in the Thanos shell because it has that Loki drawback? Like, do we have to go to the Lockdown lane?
I would play her.
But would you play that deck?
Probably.
Okay.
I would expect to play that deck. Yeah.
Yeah, because it sounds like Loki hoses it pretty bad, and Loki's not an unpopular deck right now.
No, but like one bad matchup isn't a reason not to try it, right?
Okay, yeah.
And I do think that like this is something that is a significant boost to that deck. It's just, maybe we have to play Mobius for the Loki matchup.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cannonball 5/8 on reveal. Move an enemy card away from here and add a rock where it was. If it can't move, destroy it.
You are actually looking at an old version of Cannonball.
Dude, that's happened 2 months in a row. 2 months in a row. I'm going to go Marvel Snapshot. I'm going to find a new source. What the hell?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Hit
me with the new.
So the new version of Cannonball, I'm going to Google it real quick just to make sure I get it right. So I honestly just saw this on Twitter. Okay. On reveal 5/8. Move the highest power enemy card here away. If you can't, destroy it with a rock.
That's a buff.
That's a buff.
That's a nice buff. I like that. That's good. Yeah. I mean, what I was thinking, so when I first saw Cannonball, I was like, okay, is this like some like sort of leader-esque Alioth ability, on like a 5/8. Right now, you're just moving it. So you have like a 5-drop leader Alioth ability where they play their big, I try to win this lane against you 5-drop, whatever that might be. And this card just like guarantee moves it no matter on priority. Is that what you were thinking with this card?
I was thinking it was more like reverse arrow. Like this is to arrow as Alioth is to leader.
Okay.
Like they were like, I'm a fix arrow. And that's what Cannonball was.
Yeah.
And now he's like, yeah, that actually is. It's reverse arrow. It's super sick.
I think this card is actually solid. The stats are pretty good too.
Good stats. It's a 5/8. Like I have a rant in the chamber, by the way, about how every 5-cost card is either a Legion or a Devil Dinosaur.
That's true.
It's 100% true. This is a Legion, for the record. This is a Legion.
Yeah. But yeah, like even the new Darkhawk is,
Yeah, Darkhawk's a Devil Dinosaur.
Devil Dinosaur.
Everything is either Legion or Dino.
Yeah, I think this card is legit. I like this card a lot. I wonder if it's going to allow me to play more Allied decks. Because like now I can guarantee it'd be easier to manipulate priority potentially on turn 5, and then I play my Alliance on turn 6 in whatever other lane they're not winning, and then I just auto win the game, which I love to do. I love locking out the game really like that. So seems good. I like it. Cannonball. Big thumbs up. All right, War Machine 4/6. Sorry, I was just laughing because you were like, I got a rant in the chamber, and it was like a sentence. I thought it was going to be like, I thought we were going for a while.
Okay, man. All right. I'm getting mixed fucking signals here. All right. KM, stop yapping. KM, keep yapping. All right. Okay.
I just don't know if it qualifies as a rant. Anyway, War Machine 4/6.
Okay, I've got a trenchant observation in the chamber. Is that I got a bon mot in the chamber. You happy?
That'd be more appropriate. Thank you. War Machine 4/6 on reveal until the end of next turn. Nothing can stop you from playing cards anywhere.
Yep. All the cards in your hand are Jeff.
So KM, does this mean I can play 6 cards at a location?
It does not.
Does not.
All the cards in your hand are Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
They do what Jeff does.
How powerful is that at a 4/6?
Pretty good. My instinct is that like I've seen people on Twitter being like, War Machine Infinite is bait. And it's like, you guys know that like 20 power wins a lane, right?
Yo, that is not bait. What?
You guys know that like the blob, his whole thing is just being that, right? Like he's just like a good card. And I think more than that, like you just put it in like a Black Knight deck and it's like, oh, I was already playing the Infinite. And now I'm basically guaranteeing that at some point I'm dropping 20 power in one of these lanes. Enjoy it, buddy. Have fun. Yeah. Like it's not always going to be the best thing to do. Sometimes there's going to be synergy decks that can go taller. You know what I mean? But it does seem like it's quite solid.
What shell is this going in? Is it going like because it's a 4/6? Is it going in a Zabu shell, or are we throwing Infinite in the Zabu shell?
Black Knight Zabu, right? Okay.
Just
like that. That's the deck that already wants to play both Zabu and Infinite. It feels like the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
But like for example, there's just like Hope Summers into turn 5 this, turn 6 Infinite Ebony Maw. That's pretty good. That's basically just She-Not, right? That's just like, oh, I'm doing She-Not without any of the work. I'm just playing the cards I already want to play.
Yeah.
No magic. No worrying about getting scammed on locations. Just 27 power on the final turn as God intended.
I think, and Jeff since his release has just impressed me in his. I mean, it's not that I didn't think the card would be powerful, but just in its playability, his relevance in the meta, and just like how consistent he is like a solid 2-drop, even though he doesn't have incredible stats. So it's like, if I point to anything, I'd point to like that ability is extremely powerful. And when you get it on another, now 4/6, which is not terrible stats. It's like, and you can do even way more degenerate stuff with it, like the Infinite. Seems good.
It does.
I mean, honestly, bro, a lot of these cards seem like bangers for March. Like this seems like.
This is why I advise you to save on the Proxima, right? Like there's a lot of weird, crazy stuff coming out, and she's going to cost the same now as she does later. And if you're, that's sort of where I'm at with it.
I'm excited for it. All right. Well, if you listen to this podcast, you enjoy it. You can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you want to make it easy, you can go to ratethispodcast.com/snapshot. We read every single review, and it's the number one thing you can do. Video version of this on YouTube at youtube.com/@the_snapshot. Hit that subscribe while you're there. Twitter's at Brendan APG. Sorry.
Nice.
Holy Ghost came up on me or something. KM Best MS. KM is streaming in the evenings. Not hot locations.
I streamed a Hot Location today.
Yeah,
That's what it is. I stream in the evenings when I'm not watching Dune 2, which I do recommend seeing.
Yeah. So, okay, sorry, tangent. We're keeping you hostage. I watched Dune 1. I read the book. Big fan of the book. Like massive fan of the book. Dune 1. I thought it was enjoyable. How does Dune 2 compare?
Well, I would say it's slightly less good than the threequel, Dune Your Mom.